Hey MLMP users, Wendy here. I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to use our new data entry platform. We're excited to have this resource available to you and appreciate your patience in working through the new system. So we've been having a little bit of confusion with Activity 1, so I'm going to use the next few minutes to walk us through this. You can see I'm on my home page here on my main menu. I've selected my milkweed patch in 2018. You can see here that I've done my 2018 yearly site update. That's marked as done. So it'll give you these notifications here if something is yet to be completed. I haven't done my milkweed density measurement yet for this year, so I'm getting a notification here saying this is incomplete. I've entered four weeks of data for Activity 1, and so I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you. You can see here that I've used Activity 1C, which is the monarch density per milkweed plant activity versus the total monarchs per number of milkweed plants summary, which is Activity 1A. So you might recall in our old data entry system that you always had to enter Activity 1A, the summary, before you could enter the per plant data. And now you can enter each individual plant by itself, and then that will calculate the total, the summary information for you. So if you look here, you know, this is my summary for each of the 4 weeks that I have entered my data for. And so if I want to go back into one of these records, you go to click the view hyperlink. So now I'm viewing my weekly site information for June 24th. And you can see all of the data that I've entered, the plants, the individual plants, and the number of monarchs on each. You can use this button here at the bottom of the table if you want to select multiple plants. If you needed to change something or you over-entered something and you wanted to delete it, you can select multiples and delete or duplicate them here. I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to not follow through. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see these totals. So this is where you can kind of double check your data entry every week by making sure that this table reflects what you have entered. So I observed a total of 128 plants and found 8 eggs, a second instar, a third instar, 2 fifth instars, and 1 dead egg. So that matches up with what I found in my patch, and so my data entry looks good. If I missed a plant and I wanted to add one, here is the button here at the top of the table to add a plant. And so make sure you check the directions. This is the data entry form for 1 milkweed plant. Before I walk us through that, I also wanted to point out on this main page that if you want to view, since I had 128 different plants, if you wanted to view more of them on a page, use this page size tab to tell the system how many entries, how many plants you want to display on one page. So if I wanted to display all of them on one page, I could do it this way and show 500 plants. You can see all of these. It'll show all of the ones with 0. But just wanted to point out that tool so you could tell it how many plants you want it to display on one page. Okay, so going back to, I'm going to go back to my main menu. Always scroll back to the top of the screen to return to a different activity or the main menu. So I'm going to enter just a little bit of dummy data so that I can walk you through this process. So these weeks are all complete. Like I said earlier, if I want to edit something, I go back into view, and then there is an opportunity up here to edit that record. So if I go to that, I can go back in and update my time information or description information that shows as successfully updated. Same with the milkweed plants. If you want to edit it, you can click on this plant and then go to edit. So if I wanted to start a new week's entry for activity 1C. I'm going to come in and do a date observed. I'm going to do in 2018. Make sure I'm going to do PM instead of AM. I did see blooming plants at my site this week, and I want to point out this tool as well. We carried this over from the old system, but since plants are likely to be in bloom from 1 week to the next, we have this capability of copying the plants from your most recent monitoring event. Make sure you enter the adults that you see at the site that week, whether or not you looked for Apis nerii, any other comments you want to tell us. So here's where it's an important dividing point. This is where it's asking me if I want to enter summary data for activity 1A or individual plant data for activity 1C. So activity 1A is the same as it always has. Enter the total number of milkweed plants you observed and the total number of each stage that you observed. Activity 1C, giving me a warning that my date is out of range because it hasn't occurred yet. Some checks in place. So going to enter activity 1C. Now I've selected activity 1C. It's telling me that's what I'm entering here. So now what you're looking at is entering data on a per plant basis. So I observe mostly Asclepias syriaca, common milkweed. So the first thing I'm going to select is the species that I looked at, and then also whether or not I saw any monarchs on this plant. Now this is immature monarchs, monarch eggs or caterpillars. And so if I always start with monarchs, or with the total number of milkweeds that I observed, no monarchs on. So I'm going to stick with no here. And just using my numbers from last week, this is where I can enter the total number of plants that had that exact combination. So 0 monarchs per plant is easy. I just have a tally of how many 0 monarchs, 0 milkweed plants that I looked at. So we'll say this was 100 milkweed plants that had no monarchs on them. So this is where I can duplicate this record 100 times. So I'm just telling the system I saw 100 plants with no monarchs on them that are of the common milkweed species. So I'm going to save and add another plant. So now I'm going to enter another plant, syriaca. Did you see any monarchs on this plant? Yes. Now I'm going to enter the plants that I did see. So I start with the different combinations, and so I make a kind of, I assess my 1 monarch per plant. And so if I found 1 egg on a plant, but I saw that same combination 10 times, I'm going to enter the information about 1 plant here. So I saw 1 egg on this plant, but since I saw 10 plants with 1 egg on them, I'm going to use this down here to duplicate it 10 times. Then I'm going to save and add another one. If I, kind of going through this process again, so then I just go down the stages. So if I saw eggs, I total those. If I saw first, then I'm going to go there next. I saw 1 first instar on a plant, and I saw that 5 times. Save and add another plant. So keep going down the stages, calculating what you found, and for 1 monarch per plant, and then move on to 2 or 3 or more. So now, say that I found multiple plants or multiple stages on 1 plant. So I saw 1 egg and 2 first instars on this plant. So, but I only saw 1 of that plant. So I'm going to leave the duplicate at 1 and just save and add another plant. So it's going to be more common that you'll need to duplicate the 1 monarch per plant. That's typically what we'll find is one monarch per plant. And so that's where the duplication comes in handy. For the combos of 2, 3 or more, you're going to be, you might find some of the same combination, but it'll be a little bit less likely. So I just keep going through that process of adding the different combinations that I found for activity 1C. Found a second in star, and I found this 2 times. So I'll do this often. If I, say that was the last one that I've done, I'll just keep clicking save and add another, but then turns out I didn't have any more to enter. If you click save and done, it's going to tell you, it's going to give you an error message. You don't want to do that. And so then canceling will just bring you back to the activity 1 overview, where now you can see the data that I've entered in. Here it's giving me a table of all of the plants that I entered. And so I can go back and edit any of those if I want to. And then reminder, I'm going to go back to this bottom table and just double check that these numbers reflect what I saw that week in summary. So 118 plants, saw a total of 11 eggs, 7 firsts and 2 seconds. So that's just a quick orientation to activity 1C. I want to make sure that people, just to walk you through how to do that, feel free to reach out to us at MLMP to if you have any questions. We want to make sure this is as easy as possible, and we want to know where the quirks are in the new system. So thanks for your time today.